Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Your Health Matters. My name is Carl Sterling. Really happy to be here. Thanks for tuning in. Folks, we've had a lot of great guests in the past year. I've been doing this show. This is like show 53 or 54, somewhere in there. And, we've had a lot of medical people on, a lot of movement professionals, doctors, neurologists, best-selling authors, researchers talking about diet, nutrition, feeding your body, using your brain, moving your body. Today, we're taking a different approach, my friends. Today, we have a very special guest who I've been a fan of for, I think now it would be about 52 years. Many of you've either heard of him, and if you haven't heard of him, you heard him because you can't not have heard him. His name is Tony Levin. Tony Levin is a musician. He's known for playing bass. You probably heard him with Peter Gabriel, maybe David Bowie, Paul Simon, Chuck Mangione. So today we're going to take a different view of things. And the way it's going to work is Tony is an expert in the music, being a musician, but he's 78 and a half years old and he's out touring the world. So without further ado, I want to introduce Tony Levin. Thank you, Tony.
Well, thank you, Carl, for having me on. I'm honored and great to connect with you again because we have some history going way, way back. And we'll talk about whatever you'd like. This is kind of fun for me.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so going back, way back, my dad bought an album for me for my birthday, and I think I was turning 11. I'm 63 now. So somewhere around 11 or 12th birthday was Gap Mangione with this guy, Tony Levin, on bass, and this other guy, Steve Gadd. I hadn't heard of either of those guys. I'm like, holy cow, man, this is really good. But Dad wouldn't steer me wrong either. And then I find out, geez, Chuck Mangione, he worked with him. Oh, wait a minute. Buddy Rich, the Roar 74. I think you're on that album too.
Yes, I am. Wow.
Buddy Rich was, my hero. I saw him when I was 9, and I said, that's it. Got to be a drummer. I can't not be a drummer after seeing Buddy. So, but Tony, we do have a history. I remember coming to your house in Kingston to get the Cafe Creme.
Yeah.
Which was from Malcolm Moore.
Yes, I'm to explain that. I'm kind of a road dog. Been most of my life on the road with bands, which is great. And way back, there was a time we can hardly remember. There was a time when espresso was pretty unusual in the United States,
Sure.
and we toured Europe and Italy a lot, all of these bands, but so I wanted to have my espresso on the road, couldn't do it, and so I had to take an espresso machine and then the cups and the grinder and that stuff, and I put them together. I had a case made that I called Cafe Creme, after King Crimson, who was the only band I toured with who could afford. No, sorry, Peter Gabriel could also, but the smaller bands, the jazz bands, the small rock bands, couldn't afford to bring this thing on the road. And eventually, I didn't need it. Hey, espresso reached the United States. Thank goodness. Yeah. And Malcolm wanted that. He remembered that case, and he wanted it, and you helped him, and you guys visited me, and I said goodbye to the case, but it reappeared later.
Well, it did. We got back. So we went to see you. We pulled up to your house. You brought us in. It was beautiful. You made us espresso.
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah. And then we went over to pick up the thing. It barely fit in my car. I'm glad it did, though. And then went out to dinner. But, I was with Malcolm. This is 12 or 13 years ago. It was my last year really playing out before I really went full-time in this neuro rehabilitation business, which I love. And I'm really better at this than being a drummer. But, I was playing in Malcolm's band, and one night he rolls out the Cafe Creme on the stage.
That's funny.
He made all of us espresso. So I'm trying to pull off a Vinnie Colaiuta playing with one hand. That doesn't work out so well, right? Vinnie could drink espresso and do it, but not me. But it was really cool. And then I remember actually we opened for you. It was you, Pat Mestellato, and Marcus Reuter at Water Street Music Hall. I think we opened for you. Yeah, that was a blast. So Tony, here's the thing, folks. This is really special for me because having a history as a full-time musician myself, before I figured out I was better at something else, much better. I've followed you so much, Tony. Got to see you over the years, different groups, mostly Crimson and Stickmen, which I love. And you are 78 years old, 79 in June. You just finished like a 3 or 4 month, almost 4 months, I think, with the Beat tour all over the US, maybe Canada a little bit too. And then right before that, I think you were out with Gabriel, right? Peter Gabriel
Mhm.
on a world tour. So the reason, folks, that I'm asking Tony about this, and he's so gracious to come on the show, is how are you doing it at 78 and a half years old? What is the driving force that keeps you in the game and moving? Because when I see you, you always look the same to me. It's like you haven't aged. Your physique. I've been watching the Beat videos, by the way, on YouTube. It's amazing what you guys did. I love that whole band. It's beautiful. But there you are. It's like you're eternally youthful, at least from my perspective. And we can't even get people to get either butt cheek off the couch a lot of times. No offense, folks, but it's true, right? And I'm kind of lazy, really, but I can't afford to be, or else I would be obese again. And I don't want to go back there. How do you do it, Tony?
Um, yeah, let me go back over everything you've just said. Yeah, I just finished a long tour, and it was long, 64 shows around the U.S. and Canada. That's a little longer than most tours we do without a big break. Uh, and frankly, that one wasn't hard. Each tour, I toured with a lot of different rock bands in different circumstances, and each one is completely different. So all the parameters are different, and what your life is like on the road is different among those. What they all have in
Yeah.
common is as you age, and we are all aging, the guys that I play with, and maybe I'm near the front of being one of the older ones. Uh, uh, those 22 hours of getting to the venue and keeping yourself in shape and getting ready to play the show. Those, as you get older, those are more fraught, a little more difficult. But what's in common with all of these is those 2 hours, or hopefully 3 hours, that you're on stage, make it not only worth it, but I appreciate nowadays how lucky I am to be doing that, and I really thrive on it because I and the others with me, when you think about it, we're doing what we love to do and what gratifies us in a lot of ways, playing live in front of an audience, ideally an audience that are your fans and that really are part of your music and love what you're doing.
Sure.
So that 2 hours makes it worth it and it motivates you to do whatever you have to do to get through the other 22 hours, which are not so terrible in some of these bands. And sometimes they get a little difficult.
Yeah, I remember for Stickmen opening in Water Street, Rochester. You guys were all in a van together. Look like
Right.
a rented
kind of-
van. And I can't imagine that's maybe the most comfortable road situation when you're driving 6, 8, 10, 12 hours, but you do it.
Yeah, the van is one way, and Stickman and Levin Brothers, my jazz band, travel that way. Yes, you drive your van, not 6 or 8 hours, and then do a show. That's almost not possible, but number of hours, then you go right to the venue. You spend the afternoon setting up, and sometimes you don't see the hotel till midnight or 1 a.m., and then how early
Yeah.
you're getting up. Yeah, and one of you has to drive the van, and yeah, that's fraught, but then the other end is a private plane with Peter Gabriel, where we run off stage and go to the small airport and fly to the next city in a very
Sure.
luxurious way.
That's pretty cool. That is just
Yeah, cool, but also it can be tiring. We'll get into that when there's more time.
Sure, sure. Well, I'll tell you what, with that said, folks, we're going to head to our first break. Today we have with us Mr. Tony Levin. He is a renowned musician, bassist. You've heard him, whether you know it or not, you've heard him. You've heard 50 Ways to Leave Your Lover, but Paul Simon, you've heard Tony. If you heard some of the Peter Gabriel stuff, just so much of it throughout the past few decades, you've heard Tony. So we're going to take a break. This is News Radio 570, WSYR, also on 106.9 FM. My name's Carl Sterling. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to unlock your brain's full potential? Introducing the Brain Speedball, the revolutionary fun game designed to enhance balance, focus, memory, mental clarity, and cognitive performance. Whether you're looking to stay sharp, boost productivity, or slow down cognitive decline as you age, the Brain Speedball is the solution you've been waiting for. Through scientifically backed games, exercises, activities, and strategies, this program engages your mind, strengthens neural pathways, and helps you think clearer, faster, and smarter. Perfect for professionals, students, and anyone committed to lifelong mental fitness, the Brain Speedball helps you stay ahead in today's fast-paced world. Best of all, starting at approximately $30, it won't break the bank to take the first step toward a sharper, more vibrant mind. Visit carlsterling.com and go to the Sponsors tab today and discover how the Brain Speedball can help you achieve your mental best. That's carlsterling.com, Carl with a K. Brain Speedball, because a brighter mind means a brighter future. Are you ready to take control of your health and feel your best? At Neuromotor Training, we specialize in helping you move better, think sharper, and stay independent for life. Our unique programs are designed to reduce your risk of falls, improve movement and mobility, boost memory and cognition, and enhance fine motor and multitasking skills. And here's the best part. We're the only clinic with a program proven to reverse osteoporosis with our state-of-the-art biodensity machine. Imagine stronger bones and a more confident you. At Neuromotor Training, your health and independence are our top priorities. Visit us at carlsterling.com or call 315-935-7488 to schedule your first session. That's 315-935-7488. Don't wait to take the next step toward a healthier, happier you. Neuromotor Training, where better health begins.
Okay, we are back with Mr. Tony Levin. So, yeah, I imagine, any tour I ever did was really small, short, and always on a really broken down sort of old bus or a van. But tell me, what's the difference between, I mean, it seems like there's probably a big difference on maybe a higher budget type of tour, like Peter Gabriel, for example. You have a plane, but that doesn't take away the work. You still have work to do. And how do these situations compare as far as maybe how much work it really is, how exhausting it can be? Because no matter what, you've got sound check, you got setup, you got acoustics to deal with. I mean, there's so many variables, right? And then time zone changes. That's another one I wonder about sometimes.
Yeah, very different, like we both said, between a private plane tour and driving the van. And then you mentioned the bus. This tour of the Beat group that we just did, 64 shows, was by bus, 2 laps around the U.S. and Canada. And I frankly, I had misgivings before. I've done bus tours, but not that long and not that many shows a week. 5 or 6 shows a week is a lot. But it ended up being pretty easy for me once I adjusted to bus life. And, being on that bus in that bunk with 11 other guys. They were good guys. And so, we got into the routine, and frankly, it was less tiring than some other tours I've done with other style of travel. Of course, everybody knows waiting in airports and traveling in commercial airplanes is more fraught than it used to be. And I find it tiring, not like you physically feel tired after it, but it's draining. So don't like to do that on a day that you have to play, although some bands we do that. So the bus tour is kind of cool. And with Peter Gabriel, I could talk for your whole hour about how wonderful it is to have the private plane. But we arrived maybe 2 a.m. at some city and you check into a very nice hotel. But the life is the same. We get a bit of sleep, and then the next day it's check out, pack your stuff, don't forget anything, head to sound check, spend the day at sound check, get some food at the venue, which can be very good, or it can be, again, if you're driving a van, the food's not going to be so good at the venue. And anyway, what it all ends up with for us is that 2 or 3 hours that you're doing what you love to do. And let me say, at my age, and I'll include Peter Gabriel, he's a very energetic and wonderful performer. Anybody who's seen him knows that. And he's in great shape. And so physically, his show, there's a lot of dancing for all of us on stage, not just
Right. Notice that
a lot of running around, and he's up to it. So I had to cope with last year when I toured with him, how to cope with, hey, these jumps, I can't jump like I can jump, but I can't jump as much as I used to. The legs, the knees, that kind of stuff, the reality of it. So yes, I factor that into my life on the road. And frankly, I think at Peter Gabriel concerts last year, I realized that I need to find some Gatorade type fluid for in the intermission. I never had to do that before. I'd kind of ate way before the show and maybe get a bite to eat after the show, but I had to actually refuel in the intermission because I can't quite put out that output the way I used to. Hey, that's life, is learning how to cope with what you can't quite do the way you used to. That's part of life.
Well, it is. And well, this is about you, so I don't want to, I'll just say one thing about me. I'm 63, 64 almost. And I mean, I feel different than I did 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I still feel really good. I'm actually stronger than I've ever been. Just don't move the same way. So, but you got to keep doing it because otherwise you lose it for real. So with touring being physically demanding, do you have a particular approach? Is there anything that you use in terms of maintaining the energy and the stamina, or routine? Is there a fitness or an exercise routine that you rely on to stay in shape? You're pretty active on stage, though. I mean, you do some moving, right? And you're standing the whole time. And but tell me about that. How do you look at this from? What's your approach? Yeah, I need the energy. How do you get it?
Good question. And even though I have a kind of routine that I do, I'm no expert at this, and I can include the others I tour with who are close to my age, and everybody kind of has their own way of doing it. For me, as I said, I'm not an expert. I'm not teaching people how to do it. I work out regularly when I'm home. When I'm home is when I get in shape. I go to the gym every day, walk a lot. On the road, sometimes it's always difficult to work out, but to actually walk a lot is something I value for my own health, and it's hard if you're spending all day in a van. There's just no time to walk. It varies per tour, but some guys hit the gym, the hotel gym, which are dreadful things, but some guys hit that every day. Most of the guys I tour with do not do that. I have some stretch exercise things, stretching, and I have a routine I can do in my room. Is it as good as going to a gym? No. Does it include walking? No. Am I so driven that I get to the hotel and immediately go out and walk for an hour in circles around the hotel? No, that's not me. So I'm not saying at all that I have the answers to the things, but I am aware of my diet and of my trying to get as many steps a day as I can in. And you mentioned the show being energetic. Some shows are very energetic, some less so. And I have physically more trouble with King Crimson, for instance. From about 2015 till a few years ago, we toured a lot in a very static way, very interesting musical show. But I had to stand still for actually 3 hours, and I found that physically more demanding than jumping and running around with Peter Gabriel and having fun and dancing. So in a way, I'm getting that made me realize that I am getting something of a workout every night, or almost every night, and I believe that's part of staying healthy. And let me tell you another thing people probably wouldn't know is there's something physically that happens when you do a show. Oh, let me back up. If you start to get sick on the road, it's an issue, and it happens. And if you're with the same people every day, so it passes around. Okay, when you start to get sick, I find, and others I tour with have found this. You go into the show, you start the show thinking, "Oh gosh, I'm coughing, and this is not good." And around the middle of the show, you feel really good, and at the end of the show, you feel great. I feel like this is what I'm doing what I was born to do. This is wonderful. I just hope it goes on forever. And a couple hours after the show, I'm thinking, "Oh, was I sick? I forgot that." Wake up the next day, congested, get cold, nose running. Oh, geez. And so I can go through most of a tour kind of almost sick in the day and then getting cured every night. It's remarkable. And I do not know why that is. Someone wiser than me can figure it out, but it's pretty nice. And the other side of that is it happens a lot for us who tour, that you get home from the tour and something loosens up in you and you get sick.
I could relate to that just from having traveled internationally a lot, and what I do teaching wise, it might work. I've had that happen. It's like a letdown and my immune system is compromised or something. And then all of a sudden I get a bug or whatever. You know what? We're going to head to a break in just a few seconds here. When we come back, folks, we have more with Mr. Tony Levin. We'll be talking about maybe some mental longevity. I'd love to hear more about nutrition too, because, nutrition on the road, it ain't always easy. And preventing burnout. So you're listening to Your Health Matters here on News Radio 570 WSYR. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be right back with more with Mr. Tony Levin.
Are you ready to strengthen your body, improve your bone density, and take control of your health? Meet biodensity, the revolutionary technology that transforms the way we build strength and fight against bone loss. With just one session a week, biodensity helps you safely apply high levels of force to your bones and muscles, stimulating natural growth and improvement. It's scientifically backed, non-invasive system proven to increase bone density, build type 2 muscle fibers, lower A1C, and reduce fall risks. Whether you're recovering from an injury, managing osteoporosis, or simply looking to maintain a strong, healthy body, biodensity is for you. Best of all, it's quick, efficient, and perfect for people of all fitness levels. Don't let age or health concerns hold you back. Experience the difference biodensity can make in your life. Visit carlsterling.com and go to the sponsors tab to learn more and schedule your session today. That's carlsterling.com. Biodensity, because stronger bones means a stronger you.
Okay, we are back with Mr. Tony Levin. This is really fun, man. I enjoy this so much talking with you. And well, it's kind of funny. I was telling somebody recently that just a matter of fact, that's all. I over the years, past 20 years or so, gotten to know Dave Weckl reasonably well. And Dave is one of the most renowned drummers out there, right? Well, when we get together, we never talk about music. We talk about food and cars. So it's actually really fun to talk about things that aren't music with a musician. I love that,
That's great. Well, don't ask me about cars because I don't know a thing about them. And I think I ask my wife what kind of car I should get when I need one. She tells me, get this one, I get it.
There you go. There you go. Well, let's talk about maybe we talked a little bit about, you have a routine, you have some stretch bands, you do your thing, you keep active, you're walking, and that's one of the best things we can do. We've talked about that a million times on the show. So what about the mental side? Because you're performing, you're creating. In fact, you have a new album out. I think it's called Road Dogs. Is that correct?
No, the single from it is called Road Dogs.
The single's the Road Dogs.
The album's called Bringing It Down to the Bass, and it's 14 tracks that are not just bass. I brought in some super players, including a few of the drummers you've mentioned, not Dave Weckl, but Benny Caliuto is on it, Manu Katché, and Steve Gadd.
Oh my gosh.
Some of my drummer friends are on it. I feel very good about releasing an album. It's been a while. I have this wonderful problem about finishing a solo album. When I'm home, I work on my own music and write it, but I'm not home much because I have this wonder by going on the road doing what I love to do and playing live. So about year and a half ago now, I decided if I don't finish some of these tracks and get them out, they're never going to come out. It's just going to be a kind of hobby that nobody knows about. So I actually cleared out a couple months to get the other players on the tracks, and I finally released an album I feel very good about. Thanks.
Yeah. I'm sorry I got the
no problem.
I actually knew that. Bringing it down to the bass.
Recently, I released a video of one of the pieces that has a few words, Road Dogs, and it is a video of my still pictures of crew on the road on different tours. And and at the end, I sing Road Dogs. We're not.
So that's your voice. Okay. Yeah. I saw Robert Frazes in some of that too. I don't know him well, but I've met him a few times.
Yeah.
We have a lot. Actually, I was thinking we have a lot of people we know in common, like Leonardo, and you got Jimmy Haslip says hello, by the way. Just you called me a couple days ago. Oh, please give my love to Tony. He's also a big fan of yours. Jimmy's another bass player I love.
Amazing bass player. Yeah, he's
and a beautiful person. Well, with all this creativity going on, like, what is there anything you do? Maybe you don't even have to think about this. I mean, because some people just are naturally always thinking and doing. But is there anything you do when it comes to your mind or keeping, let's say, cognitively sharp?
You're correct that I don't think about it much, and I don't have I don't have a program about how I keep sharp. I just am naturally I love reading and I read a lot, so I think I challenge my brain maybe no more than a lot of people, but somewhat. So uh, staying sharp. Let me think about it. I guess as I've aged, if I hear about something that's helps prevent senility, then I'll get interested in it, and so I'm aware of that, and I'm aware of that I don't have the memory that I used to have when I was younger, and I don't learn music quite as fast as I did, but no complaints. I'm lucky that I'm as however sharp I am at my age, and as I'm around guys my age, playing music with them, I find some are slowing down, not literally slowing down, but retaining things a little worse than they did. And I pay attention to everybody's regime, and it's kind of an open book for me. I think because of the way I was raised, my mom was a big reader and very interested in diet. And I'm talking about in the 50s when I was growing up, very interested in uh, researching what diets work and how to feed her family. And the rules would change. The rules of the first diets we were on were a lot of milk and a lot of dairy and things that later, skim milk came into our diet. But what I really learned from my mom was not the ultimate diet, but that keep an eye on what science finds out about what's best for us, and maybe don't drastically change, but keep doing the best you can. I think that's my attitude about it, being as wise as I'm able to, understanding that I don't have all the answers.
So when, let's say you're going into any musical situation, is there, are you reading charts very often? I mean, as a studio musician, you must be if you're on somebody's album, but
Yeah, we haven't talked about studio musicians, but studio musicians, 50% of the time you have charts to read, and less than 50%. I can read, I was classically trained, so I can read music very well. Frankly, I don't have to, it doesn't come up very often that I have to read, very rare that I have to read music. Uh, Sometimes there are charts that I can read if I want, and sometimes, quite often, I'll hear music and I'll make a chart. I say a chart. I'll write out music for myself of what.
Mhm.
So it's a handy thing that I can read and write music just to remind myself of what the part is that I imagine or that I want to play, or
Right.
the artist I suggest that I play. So in the studio it comes up. Sometimes live it doesn't come up very much. The one exception to many of my things I say is King Crimson, which is such a complex band playing complex music that sometimes I have to completely write out the whole line until I can memorize it at a later date.
Sure. Well, I don't know. I'm just gonna digress for one moment because we first of all, you're gonna be 79 in June. Okay, you're still out there. You're touring, and it doesn't seem like your tour schedule's really lightened up ever. It's always been fairly heavy, hence the Road Dog single, right? But um, just moving like this, just walking and playing, performing, and your brain is firing all the time because you're using it all the time, whether it's just habit, like, you know what to play on the tip and stick or the bass or whatever, you know what to do, especially if you played it 1,000 times. But still, you're using the brain. It's still in there. You're still firing it. You're moving. And folks, I just need to say again, the reason Tony's with me today, and I'm so grateful for this, is he is living, breathing example of somebody who is moving physically. He's active in his craft, in his career. They're probably as active as I've ever known. I mean, your schedule's very busy, and so you're not stopping. You're not spending endless hours that I know of, days, weeks on the couch, not doing anything. And you're mindful of the fact that you must keep moving. You could use it or you lose it. And so I say this as somebody who's very inspired by watching what Tony does, but also hopefully you become inspired listening to him because, oh my gosh, I mean, seriously, I think this just is amazing. It refreshes me and it makes me feel so good to know that there are people out there. We have some who come here too. I mean, 70s, 80s, even a couple in the early 90s. They're still kicking butt, man, and they're sharp as a tack. And no, they're not moving like they used to. Whatever. They're still doing it. And that's just so important, folks, to keep going. We actually have to go to a break. And we're going to come back with one more segment with Mr. Tony Levin. I want to talk a little bit about nutrition, sleep, and any kind of takeaways that you want to give to our listeners. So, folks, you're listening to Your Health Matters here on 570 WSYR. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Are you ready to take your health and fitness to the next level in just minutes per day? I want to introduce you to the Power Plate. We have 5 Power Plates in my clinic, and it's a revolutionary fitness tool designed to transform lives and bodies. With its cutting-edge whole-body vibration technology, Power Plate activates warm muscles, increases circulation, and improves flexibility, all while reducing strain on your joints. So whether you're looking to build strength, boost endurance, or speed up recovery, Power Plate is the game changer you need. It's backed by scientific research. It delivers results quickly, making it the perfect solution for anyone from the elite athlete to the everyday fitness enthusiast. You can get a full body workout in just 15 minutes. So go to carlsterling.com, Carl with a K. Go to the sponsors tab, scroll down, click on Power Plate, and check it out.
All right, we're back. And our guest today is Tony Levin. So, Tony, this has been a blast. Can't believe how fast an hour goes, though.
Thank you.
Radio minutes are the fastest. Yeah, radio minutes are the fastest minutes in my life are on the radio. Oh, you're very welcome. It's my honor. And thank you, Malcolm Moore, for connecting us. Malcolm's a mutual friend of Tony and me. Love him like a brother. How about this, Tony? Nutrition. In general, is there anything that you gravitate towards nutritionally? And then how do you maintain that out there on the road? And, what are the challenges you run into?
2 different parts to that. Well, like with everything I've said about my age and my activity, I don't have the answers to things. I just kind of am lucky, and I've fallen into behaving the way I do. And I do keep an eye on trying to, having an ongoing job to try and be smart about the way I live on the road or at home. Diet, way back, I became a fishy vegetarian is how I call it. You call it a pescatarian. I eat fish, but I stopped eating meat in 1981, just for health. Somebody advised it, and I said, I'll try it, and I was very happy with it. Lost a lot of weight quickly, and I had to actually start eating chicken a little bit to readjust that. I don't like chicken, so my grandmother used to live downstairs and made boiled chicken, period. Boiled chicken. Oh, really? Okay. Oh, no. With chicken again. Oh, God. So I'm lucky in a way. I don't like chicken. I don't want to eat it. Anyway, so that's an interesting thing because I did it for health, not to become thinner, but health. And ever since then, it became easy to keep my weight low and more of a challenge to keep it up. Especially the first adjustment. But what's interesting to me, more interesting than that, is after a time I felt good about myself being not eating animals. That wasn't my intention. I'm not that great a guy. Oh, the animals, I love people who care about that and advise that, and that's wonderful. But I did it for myself, for health. Mm-hmm. And later I found ever since, I just feel really good about not eating meat. And so I won't be going back. And on the list, everyone has a list of one of these days, right? So one of these days, my list is to stop eating fish. I feel like a lot of fish died to keep me going. And especially on the road when I can't get protein easily the way I can at home. But anyway, it's a complex answer to your simple question. But I thought that's an interesting thing about it, that even though I did it for one reason, it became really almost a bigger thing in another reason, just feeling good about myself and about my diet and about the way I am as a person. So I'm a vegetarian. And how easy is it on the road? It's pretty hard it depends on the tour, but it's pretty hard to keep to any diet. Actually, people who are really fussy, I've only known a few people in my life who are who are musicians who are really fussy about when they sleep and how they feel and what they eat. And generally they stop being on the road pretty quickly because you just cannot control it. Do I have to eat hamburgers all the time? Not at all. But some, especially used to be touring Germany, there just was nothing without meat in it. So even we'd stop in rest stops and the bread had meat and ham in it and the cheese had pork in it. Yeah. And it's the same in Spain. For some reason, they love putting pork in things. So it can be hard, but it's doable at the highest level. Peter Gabriel, King Crimson, the Beat Tour, we have what's called a rider with my own requests for my dressing room. So if nothing else, the catering is asked to provide a certain number of vegan or vegetarian meals. And in my dressing room, I'll have fruit and maybe some some things that are fairly healthy to get me through the road or to take back to the hotel to keep me going until the next dressing room. However, on a lower budget tour, we take what we can get. We tell the club there's a vegetarian in the band and we see what we get. And some nights what we get is just a $20 bill. And they say, it's a buyout, go get something. And we're like, well, wait a minute, we play in an hour. What do you mean go get something? The van is parked 6 blocks away. Anyway, it varies a lot. No complaints. Like I said, the music gets us through it, but it's not being on the road is not the diet for gourmets.
Sure. Well, you know what? You do it though. You have no pun intended, but you have discipline. Right, I love that song.
You're joking because that was a song and a whole album title of King Crimson, which
That was the Red album.
Very
the Red album.
Yes, a very disciplined band.
The first one.
There was one.
I just have to digress from that. I love that band so much.
Oh.
And I love watching you, and I love watching Adrian Belew, especially when he starts jumping up and down. His spirit, he has a beautiful spirit. I love that man.
And his joy of performing is almost childlike. He's only, I don't know, a year or two younger than me. But unlike me, he jumps around in joy, just with an excitement on the road. I'm kind of like, I don't know what it is I do, but it's physical, but I'm an experienced musician playing my music, where he's like a kid who just never did a show before. It's a great inspiration being on the stage with him every night.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't even imagine. No, I love his voice. I love his guitar playing. I love his guitar feedback solo on Is It Waiting Man? I can't remember what song. It's either that or the other one. He just gets down on the floor.
Yeah.
And it's a feedback. Oh, that is beautiful. I love it. But he almost has like this childlike energy, the joyfulness of very youthful. And then, the recent tour of Danny Carey. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I hate to admit I'd never heard of him. I'm like, who's this guy playing this band? They got Vi, they got Levin, they got
he's quite a drummer.
Belew, and I'm like, holy crap! There couldn't have been anyone better. I mean, Bruford is special. I love Bill Bruford, Danny Carey. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Thanks. Well, let me say about being a musician overall that I'm very lucky to be a musician, to be doing what I love to do and have since I was very young. What I've loved to do since I was young, and then add to that the chance to get to play with great players like the ones you've mentioned and like others I've played with. There's a lot of luck involved, and I appreciate it. And yes, I am getting older and able to keep doing it. There's a lot of luck in the health involved. Maybe I'm making probably I'm making some right decisions, and there's a lot of luck involved too. But I want to add that those of us who make music at any level, not just touring with Peter Gabriel and King Crimson, but anybody who plays music in any way, it's a challenging activity for your brain. We mentioned brain health.
Yeah.
And if you're standing up or moving around at the drums, it can be very physical. It's a healthy activity, plus really good for your soul. I mean, just, if you love doing it, it's so those of us who get to do that are really lucky. I appreciate that. And if I actually am able to make a living at it, and I am, then extra lucky in that respect.
I just love that. You're doing what you love to do. Yeah. And your work, I sent my son something of the Beat thing, and it was featuring Steve Vai on one of the songs, and he just sends a note back. He says, "This is 4 guys top level legit mastery of their instruments." So now he's hooked on. Yeah, But I mean, I just love everybody. I just can't believe what a beautiful band that is. We just have about a minute and a half left, Tony, before we've got to close out. Any takeaway message you have? We didn't get to sleep. I didn't mean we didn't get we didn't get to the subject of sleep. Well, let's just pass that on that for now, unless you have a couple seconds to talk about it. With a minute and 20 to go, what is your takeaway message for the listeners? As far as
listen, well,
age well, keep active. I mean, whatever. What do you have anything you recommend?
not in that sense, not in those words. I'm not in a position to be recommending or telling people how to be.
Sure.
But again, as I mentioned before, playing music is great. I've had very good luck with being a vegetarian or a fishy vegetarian for most of my life. That's helped my diet and keeping active. And music is a wonderful. You mentioned sleep on the road, real little tough. I don't have any answer for that, but yes, sleep is more important as we get older, and I'm doing my best. And I feel something in common with your listeners who are of a certain age, and we're all doing our best. And let me just, as the last thing, mention that when you even approach me, hey, you're 678, and that means this. When I was young, it was about 65. You thought that was kind of the end.
Yeah.
So really, it's that thought in the back of our head that makes 78 sound like an old number, but really, in some sense, I'm like 60, 65 right now.
Well, I can see that. I feel it. I see it. Tony, thanks a million. I really
For having me.
appreciate this. Thank you. You're a big inspiration to me and thousands and thousands of others. You have so many fans. And TonyLevin.com, correct?
Yeah, there's a road diary on that of the behind the scenes shots on tours and shots of the photos. I take photos of the audience every night. Yeah.
What are you using? A Nikon D something?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Those are beautiful. So this is one of the longest running road diaries out there, period, on the internet. So go to TonyLevin.com and check it out. And you can buy the new CD there, the new album there, right, too?
Oh, there's links to everything, sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, thanks again, my friend. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Really appreciate you tuning in. This is Your Health Matters, News Radio 570 WSYR, and we'll see you again really soon. Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.